What's good, family? I'm Nikisha Elise Williams, the host of Black and Published podcast and the author of the novel The Seven Daughters of Dupree. This historical fiction novel is about the secrets kept between mothers and daughters over the course of 7 generations and is told backwards in time from 1995 to 1860. I have an excerpt from the novel for you today. The audiobook is narrated by Bonnie Turpin, and this scene you're about to listen to is from the prologue.
Prologue. They cut off her head because she ran. But who could know? Certainly not Tati. She was looking for her daddy. Her mama Nadia wouldn't tell her. Gladys, her Mimi, wouldn't tell her either. So she searched for him. She didn't know to search for anyone else. It wasn't like there was a burial or body. No coffin, no cemetery. But in a way, she found her. In fact, she found them all, including her daddy. In the kitchen table whisperings and the basement murmurings, where her mother used a hot comb to press out her hair every Saturday night.
I hope you enjoyed that scene from The Seven Daughters of Dupree, narrated by Bonnie Turpin. The novel is available everywhere books are sold and in whatever format you prefer: hardcover, ebook, audiobook, and large print. So, if you can, please consider getting a copy of The Seven Daughters of Dupree today. Now, let's get to the episode.
I'm writing stories that I want to read. I love contemporary stories. I love stories which are grounded in reality, which are relatable. I love short shows like, Insecure, Atlanta, and I kind of want people to have that same experience when they read my books as well.
What's good? I'm Nikisha Elise Williams, and this is Black and Published on the Mahogany Books Podcast Network, bringing you the journeys of writers, poets, playwrights, and storytellers of all kinds. We have a return guest on the show today, British-Nigerian author Lizzie Damilola Blackburn. She's back with her second novel, The Rewrite. It's a second-chance romance between a full-figured woman and a reality TV star who's struggling to decide exactly what kind of man he wants to be.
I've always wanted to touch on toxic masculinity at some point. It's everywhere. If you go on social media, look at the comments. I just feel like men nowadays, because of social media, have a lot of pressure in terms of what it means to be a man. So even trivial things such as the car that you drive or how tall you are can kind of skew their perception of masculinity.
Toxic masculinity isn't the only du jour topic Lizzie tackles in this novel. The reason she says she had to make her heroine a confident, full-figured woman unashamed of her weight. Plus, the childhood traumas and mental health challenges faced by members of the caretaker community Lizzie drew on from her own experience. And after experiencing anxiety over her second book, how Lizzie feels now that she's on the other side of the sophomore slump and working on her third. That and more is next when Black and Published continues. So, Lizzie, last time we talked was for your first novel, your debut, Yinka, Where's Your Husband? You're back with The Rewrite. How did this book come about?
Basically, I went through what's called second book syndrome after Yinka. So it was amazing that Yinka did really well and received lots of positive reviews. But in the same breath, that also crippled me because now I kind of felt like a sense of pressure to deliver an even better book. And so for a very long period of time, I was struggling with even what to write. And during that period, I was procrastinating a lot. And that involved a lot of watching Love Island, the popular reality TV dating show. And then I had this brainwave at 2 a.m. in the morning. I was like, what if my ex, after breaking up with me, went on the world's biggest reality TV dating show? And after he came back and got famous, I had to work with him. And that became the premise of my second book.
So you went from actual procrastination to wait, maybe there's a novel here.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to catch up and watch Love Island because I've never seen an episode. It's been all over the internet, all over social media, especially this season. And so
Yeah.
now I'm like, I have no idea what people are talking about. But you don't need to have watched the show to have read the book or to read the book, the rewrite. So your characters are Timmy and Wale.
Yeah.
And Timmy's the writer. Wale is the ex-boyfriend who goes on the show. What about their dynamic did you want to explore in your novel that's basically like this revenge breakup story gone awry?
Yeah, so both Timmy and Wale, they're in their early 20s, like the contestants on Love Island. And so their frontal lobe is not exactly developed yet. And so in terms of communication and how they like just handle relationship, they're not quite there yet. And so I kind of wanted to show how they grow into not just as mature individuals, but they are mature for each other as well. And they learn how to be vulnerable with each other and to be open and honest about the insecurities and how they're really feeling. And they say what they are thinking rather than just kind of like assuming that the other person knows or things like that. So communication is a big theme in this book and learning how to have those honest conversations and upfront conversations as well.
And in learning to have that upfront conversation, they are forced to do so because Wale was made out to be the villain on the show in your novel. And so he comes back and he decides that he wants to write a memoir and use his fame to talk about who he really is. And so, even still, there's this level of subversion and subterfuge to his vulnerability. Why did you want to create that character and have him use that mode of writing and doing this memoir as a way to express himself?
I just find it interesting, like when you see the contestants on Love Island, they all like look pretty and good looking and attractive. And so with that, you can have like preconception on who they are as a person. And for Wale, unfortunately, people see him as a party boy or a cheater, a playboy. And that label had been put on him as he got older and gets had a glow up. And so I kind of wanted to show who Wale really is and how like his childhood and what he went through as a child and the trauma he went through as well, how that kind of has an impact on his masculinity. But because of some of the societal kind of pressures of how to be a man, how that kind of skews how he presents himself. And so he feels it has to be like, or portray himself as one way, but really and truly, like, that's not who he really is. And so then I felt like the memoir would be like a good vehicle to kind of like get the context and the backstory in regards to who Wally really is.
And getting that context and backstory, you talk about his childhood trauma, and I won't give any spoilers, but there is an organization that he works for that is focused on making sure that people who care for others for whatever reason, whether they're sick or they have mental incapacitation or are disabled or whatever the case may be, have the support they need. And that is in Wale's background, as well as in found family being very important and just being able to build a support system outside of your nuclear family when your nuclear family is affected by different issues. Why was that important for you to highlight in this novel, one, but also in Wale's background as a character?
So I worked for a carers charity and I was a carer myself. And for a very long time, I didn't know that I was a carer. And I feel like sadly, this is very common for a lot of carers. You just feel like you're doing your duty as a daughter or a mom or whatever. And so I kind of felt like this would be like a great opportunity to kind of raise awareness of caring, who I feel like are the unsung heroes in society. And also, yeah, you talked about found family as well. And I feel a lot of people can relate to that as well. You can't really choose what family you're brought up in. You can't really choose the hand that you're dealt with, but you can choose the people outside your family. And I just kind of wanted to show that, you can still belong somewhere else and get support from friends or whether it's an organization or like uncles or aunties. There's support there for people and to encourage people to reach out.
Why do you think the caretaker community are the unsung heroes?
Because they carry a lot of, I guess, weight. So here in the UK, in terms of the funding and the support they get from the government is not that much. And even the government kind of like relies on them to look after their loved ones because the NHS, which is a healthcare system, is struggling. And also a lot of emphasis, rightly so, is put on those who are cared for. And sometimes those who do the caring are forgotten. And as a result, their own health sometimes is put on the back burn, or they get burnout and they still have to, care day in and day out. Or sometimes they might feel guilty for maybe even having thoughts of, wanting a break from the person they're caring from, or things like that. So I do feel like there's a lot there. I feel like they're the invisible kind of heroes in society.
And you talk about the weight that is put on them and that they're not always taking care of themselves or taken care of even as they are caring for others. And we see that with Wale and how he really stuffs his feelings and doesn't let anyone know what's going on, even the people closest to him, if they don't already know for one reason or another. And you talked a bit about that he has this label put on him as being a playboy and a bad guy and, being part of that toxic masculinity culture. Why did you want to raise awareness about these very real issues in present 2025 dating in this novel that is so much based off of what we are seeing in the world today?
Because I've always wanted to touch on like toxic masculinity at some point. I just didn't know it would be my second book. I always thought this was quite a hard topic, but it's everywhere. Like if you go on social media, we look at the comments, the red pill community as well, the likes of Andrew Tate and Kevin Samuels, and the interest in them. And I just feel like men nowadays, because of social media, have a lot of pressure in terms of like what it means to be a man. So even things such as like trivial things such as the car that you drive or how tall you are can kind of like skew their perception of masculinity. And so they feel like they have to maybe even compensate for that as well. And I guess in Wale's case, he feels like part of his glow up, which involves going to the gym and getting bigger, was because he wanted to portray himself more as a man, but really that was coming from a place of hurt. And I don't want to give any spoilers in terms of what happened to him. But you also have other male figures in the book as well. So Wale has two good friends, Kojo, and his masculinity comes from how he looks like. So he's kind of like the gym guy, if that makes sense. And then you have Fonzo, who's been friends with since he was, a little boy, and he's more kind of comfortable. His masculinity, like he will wear whatever, he will read a romance book, and is very much like comfortable in his sexuality as well. And so you have Wale, who's kind of like torn in the middle in terms of like not too sure how to be a man, when really and truly like to be a man just need to be like your authentic self. And part of that is, being attuned to your emotions and being able to express yourself as well.
And so you talk about these two friends, and Kojo specifically basically leads Wale by the hand and tries to indoctrinate him into this toxic masculine world, I guess. And a lot of the conversation is that sometimes, because of how social media is and the algorithm, you may watch one video that seems not harmful. And then as you keep going down that rabbit hole, you're all of a sudden in it and in the red pill community, which I still can't define because I was married for way too long. And it's like a self-fulfilling and self-breeding prophecy, but more like not a prophecy. What's it like, bacteria? I don't have the good
Mm-hmm.
analogies
I
today.
know what it means, like a
Yeah.
infestation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a cancer. There it is.
Mhm.
That's the one. And so we see that what it looks like in one character, and then we see the complete opposite of that in Fonzo. And then Wale is kind of in the middle trying to
Mm.
navigate that. Was that inspired by anything specific, or did you want to show what it looks like for a man, even in fiction and a character that you made up, to straddle that line between going off the deep end of the manosphere and being above the stereotype of the sensitive artsy guy?
Yeah. I think it was inspired by some of the conversations that I have with my husband. And even, he's married and, and he's in a secure relationship, but, some of the, um, not to give too much of his business away, but some of the insecurities that he feels, some of the pressures that he feels. And then also just like our general conversations about how social media has kind of impacted men and their manhood as well. So yeah, that's where it came from.
And it's not just the male characters that struggle with insecurity in this novel. We also have Timmy, who we haven't talked too much about. She, of course, is the heroine, the writer. Wale is her ex-boyfriend. And you mention it casually wants that she is a plus size, full figure, curvy girl. And
Mm.
then it's only in her interactions with some other characters where that is negatively thrown in her face, but she doesn't have the negative perception of herself that others might because she's bigger. Why was that important for you to highlight in this character?
So in my first book, Yinka, she was a dark-skinned, skinny woman. And as a Black author, I just really want to represent like all types of Black women. And so I thought it would be great if Temi was, a Black plus size woman. But I didn't want her weight to be like the storyline. I didn't want her to be self-conscious about her weight or like trying to lose weight. I wanted her to be like super confident and know it. And I've got a friend like that as well. She's plus size, she's curvy, and I just love the way that she's beautiful, period. And so I intentionally didn't like make Wale even talk about her weight because he just sees her as a beautiful woman. And so I kind of wanted to show like, even though Temi is confident, even though Wale is fine with her weight, like society sadly just has like these kind of preconceived, backwards kind of opinions on the plus size community and their views of attractiveness and who they feel like Wale should be with, if that makes sense. So yeah, there's no way I could have like make Tammy a plus size character and not touch on fat phobia.
You've done this in both of your novels, where in Yinka, you touched on colorism, and there's this very pivotal scene with bleaching cream in the novel that's hinted at and alluded to throughout. But then there's one scene where it becomes like the main focus in talking about the colorism within the Black community, as well as like issues of celibacy and abstinence and that whole thing and religiosity. And then in this one, you're now examining pop culture and dating and the toxic masculinity and how we perceive each other. Why is it important for you to like take these issues that we're all talking about, no matter how taboo, but that we're all talking about, whether it's online or in our group chats or with friends, and like put them in your novel and force your characters to reckon with them?
Because I'm writing stories that I want to read. Like I love like contemporary stories. I love stories which are grounded in reality, which are relatable. I love short shows like, Insecure, Atlanta, and I kind of want people to have that same experience when they read my books as well. And I'm also trying to attract people who might not be avid readers. And it's been great that, people who don't normally like to read have been drawn to my stories because there's elements of things that they can relate to and things that they can be like, oh, I know what she's chatting about, or like, oh yeah, she's talking about the culture. Like it's kind of like a, in secret thing. So yeah, I'm just writing the stories that I want to read basically.
In writing the stories and being your own first reader, then how do you set out to please yourself?
Hmm. I'm gonna have to because writing a novel is takes ages. So if I'm not feeling it, if I'm not enjoying it, then to me that's a clear sign that maybe it's not the story I'm supposed to write. Which is why I mentioned I went through the second book syndrome. It took me such a long time because nothing gripped me in the same way as Yinka did. And also bear in mind, it took me over 5 years to write that book. So yeah, even though I still kind of have to think about the mass market and if it's going to sell, ultimately I have to enjoy what I'm writing.
And so, with that in mind, and just navigating the industry, were there stories that you came up with that you then scrapped? Because there are a few scenes within the rewrite where Timmy she's got an agent, she's quit the day job, she's trying to do this writing thing for real. And the book she's supposed to be writing isn't working. The revenge novel that she wrote, she wants nobody to see. And she's just like struggling. Was that relatable or cathartic for you to write? And were there any ideas that you threw away like Timmy did?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Like I was struggling as much as Temi. I would start something and then maybe in a few days or a week, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. Just like questioning myself often. Finding it really hard to meet my daily word counts. I just channeled all my frustration and feelings and hopes as well into Temi's character. So I feel like making her a writer was actually cathartic for me because it allowed me to kind of put my feelings into someone.
Now that the book is out, have you gotten over or been able to better cope with some of those fears and anxieties and frustrations that come with that sophomore slump since you've done it?
For sure, yeah. Like it's still challenging, but I didn't mention before, but I also wrote the rewrite while I was pregnant and with a newborn, which was hell because essentially my son, he just didn't sleep. And so I had to like write in the early hours while I was breastfeeding and cradling him. And so now I'm like, if I did that, then like I can do anything now.
I did the same. My novel, The Seven Daughters of Dupree, I wrote right before my daughter was born, finished the first draft as she was a newborn, and then continued the second draft and all of the rewrites and edits as she's grown up. But I clearly remember her being on one boob and then the laptop on the other side, trying to write with one hand,
Yes.
breastfeeding
Congratulations.
and
That's
typing.
amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I understand what that's like.
Mhm.
Um, so
We
then
do
what
what we
is
gotta do.
yeah. What does it mean to you then, having gone through all that, some of the anxieties and fears, having the baby, being pregnant, and producing this work? What does it mean to you for it to have come out or coming out?
I'm so proud of myself because it took me a long time to actually like fall in love with the rewrite, to be honest with you, because I just had so many other things competing for my attention. And because I was going through that second book syndrome as well, and I was constantly comparing it to Yinka. So I'm really proud with the end result. I'm proud for pushing through, for also producing a baby as well as my book baby. So yeah, it's definitely like one of my hugest achievements to date.
Well, then I can think of no more perfect time to have you read something from The Rewrite.
Sure.
The Rewrite by Lizzie Damilola Blackburn is a second chance romance novel about 20 somethings Wale and Tammy. She is a professional writer and he is a caretaker. After a bad breakup, Wale escapes South London for a Love Island type reality show and gets labeled a heartbreaking bad boy. In order to rehabilitate his image, he decides to write a memoir, and Tammy is enlisted as his ghostwriter. But just when they seem to be making their writing relationship work, Tammy's own book news threatens to derail their progress. Here's Lizzie.
So I'm going to read from chapter 1. 11 weeks later, August. My heart can't take another rejection. This thought keeps coming to mind as I wait in a quiet restaurant in Covent Garden. My agent emailed me to catch up over lunch, so I'm assuming she has news for me. Whether it's good or bad, I don't know. Water? A smiley waiter fills the 2 glasses on the table. The aroma of freshly made buttery waffles, which under normal circumstances would make me hungry, is now making me sick to my stomach. And then a lump the size of a cough sweet lodges itself in my throat. Directly ahead of me on the widescreen TV is my ex-boyfriend Wale. A rerun episode of The Villa, the reunion is on. My lips quiver, but I manage to hold it together. 6 months down the drain, just like that. The producers play a reel of Wale's highlights for the 5 weeks he was on the show before being voted off by the public, not that I was keeping track. They've set to the tune of Mariah Carey's Heartbreaker, which couldn't be more fitting. They show his entrance. What's happening, people? My name is Wale and I'm from South London. His first connection with a Geordie lass called Sally. Yeah, you're a sweet one still. They show how he breaks her heart before swiftly coupling up with Talisha and doing the exact same thing. This happens quite a few times, going from one girl to the other, going from piping hot to ice cube cold, until he is paired up with Kelechi, a stunning British Nigerian model with rich chocolate skin and big eyes. When they hit it off, I'd switched off. I can no longer watch as the love of my life fell into the arms of somebody else. But despite avoiding the show, it was almost impossible to dodge Black Twitter. Every day, Wale and Kelechi, or Walechi as they were called, inundated my newsfeed. They were hashtag couple goals, hashtag black love, hashtag Yoruba and Igbo king and queen. Until one day, a different hashtag was trending. Hashtag get Wale out, hashtag Fboy, hashtag Wale is trash, bin him. It seemed as though Mr. Pretty Boy had broken Kelechi's heart too.
Thank you. So you talk about this second chance romance, and you had your whole spiel about, anything that's meant for you will come back around. Why is that important, or why did you think that was important for a romance novel to remind people that love will come back around?
I feel like sometimes in life, like when things don't work out, we kind of feel like, oh, that's it. I mean, take that as a sign that maybe it wasn't meant to be. And maybe, it wasn't meant to be in that period of time. So it might just be a case of like wrong timing as well. So I just kind of wanted to give people a food for thought. And maybe if there's anything that they've buried, that maybe they need to kind of go back and do some deeper thinking about it. It could be a case of maybe now might be the great time to, I don't know, to start a business or to reach out to that ex. I don't know if that's good advice.
Maybe don't spin the blocks.
Yeah.
How have you seen that determination to not give up, exes notwithstanding, in your own life?
I can definitely see it in my writing career, and also even like in before I got married, I was like relentless when it came to dating. So I tried dating websites, I even tried a few dating events as well. And I think once I kind of stopped obsessing about dating and just took some time out, it's not every single day you got to be on the dating sites. I think that's when things change. Because during that period of time, I was also praying as well and whatnot. And the next time that I went on a dating site, that's how I found my husband. But I felt like God needed me to kind of remove myself for a bit because I was just making that my God, I guess, in some sense. So yeah, I needed to kind of like trust in him.
Even in following your faith, whether it was through your dating experiences that led you to your marriage and now your child, to being determined about your writing career. I remember in our first conversation, we talked about how you had your blog with Christian dating dilemmas, and that's what led to the character of Yinka in your first novel. And then taking your own experiences of maybe possibly your own insecurities around producing a second novel, because now there's this pressure and this expectation, and you've taken your art and given it to capitalism and trying to sustain the love for the practice while also making a life and a career. What has this experience doing it a second time, being very much more intentional about what it is that you were doing, taught you about what's possible for you as a woman, as a person, yes, but also as an author?
Yeah, I think it's taught me to really just kind of like be present. I think when my debut came out, like it was such an exciting time, but also it was quite overwhelming as well. And so it was hard to really like stay still and to really kind of absorb everything. And now I feel like I'm able to really kind of take in the positive feedback, take in like, the random DMs of people like saying how much this book has impacted me. And it's not just like, oh, another positive feedback. It's more like, oh, wow, my words really touched them to the point where they had to kind of reach out and say something. So I feel like I was grateful before, but my sense of gratitude and just like being able to just really be present in the moment has just gone up another level.
And so then with that gratitude going up another level, you're able to produce even when you think you can't. What is next for you, Lizzie?
So I'm currently writing my third book. I am one of those writers who doesn't like to say too much about what I'm writing. Only my husband knows, and it's like top secret. But I think you'll probably expect the same thing from me, which is like a contemporary novel with a cast of funny, eccentric people, with a British Nigerian woman at the heart of the story, set in South London. But yeah, I'm really excited about it because there's some themes which are not really talked about that's going to be explored in the book.
Can I ask if it follows any of the characters from the rewrite? Because there's a couple that gets together at the end, and then
Mhm.
you also have Kalechi, who
Yeah, yeah.
could use her own story. Are we gonna get any like follow up to the rewrite cast?
Do you know what? I haven't thought about Kelechi, she'd be a good one. I am hoping to put a few cameos, so as long as my editors don't take it out.
Blame the editors. Big thank you to Lizzie Damilola Blackburn for being here today on Black and Published. You can follow Lizzie on the socials at Lizzie Dami Blackburn on Instagram and Threads. And make sure you check out The Rewrite. It's out now from Penguin Books. You can get a copy of the novel from Mahogany Books and get 10% off your first purchase using code BLACKPUB at checkout. That's BLKPUB. That's our show for the week. If you like this episode and want more Black and Published, head to our Instagram page. It's at Black and Published, and that's BLK and Published. There, I've posted a bonus clip from my interview with Lizzie about the 2 key takeaways she wants readers to get from her novel. Make sure you check it out and let me know what you think in the comments. I'll holler at y'all next week when our guest will be Reginald Dwayne Betts, author of the poetry collection Doggerel.
This is the first time I wrote a book that was entirely about me. And I pride myself. Somebody wrote a review of Felon in which they noted that I make a point of embodying the multitudes. This is the first book that I've embodied my multitudes. And so every one of these poems is about me.
That's next week on Black and Published. I'll talk to you then. Peace.
What's going on, family? This is Derek Young
and Ramonda Young,
owners of both Mahogany Books and the Mahogany Books Podcast Network.
We really want to thank each and every one of you for listening to this episode. And if you enjoyed what you just heard, drop us a review and rate us on whatever platform you download podcasts on.
We truly appreciate each and every one of you for supporting us and making us your go-to for Black books. And we look forward to connecting with you all sometime in the future.
Thank you again, fam. And always remember, Black books matter.